It is time for Relationship Matters with none other than Casey in the studio. How are you doing?
Good, David. How are you?
I'm
honest.
I'm there.
Be honest. You can be honest.
So I've been sneezing, my nose been clogged, and I've been coughing a lot the past
man.
half an hour or so. When this happens, it's usually a sign that spring is really here.
Yeah, so I guess you're allergic to pollen, I guess.
Yeah, I don't like flowers, and flowers don't like me.
Oh.
I know. I like looking at them, but when I get close to them, my body's like, oh, no flowers, David, no.
Oh, bummer. So, like, from far, far away, you could admire them.
Yeah, I love looking at cherry blossoms. They're so beautiful, right? They're
Just
so
stay away.
amazing. They're pink colors. You don't normally see pink outside.
It reminds me of, like, when I first came to Korea, it reminds me of a Mario-related game. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah?
Yeah, like just like the pink flowers everywhere. I was like, this looks like out of a game that I played when I was very young.
It doesn't look real, right?
Yeah.
But my body's like, no, David, don't go near there. I'm going to make you sneeze, David.
So only through windows. View them only through windows.
Only through windows and smartphone cameras, I suppose.
There you go. I'll take some pictures for you. I'll bring them.
Relationship matters. This is for me, really. My relationship with flowers.
Yeah, it's a tough relationship, it sounds like.
Yeah, it is.
I wish I could help you with that.
But that's just me. And I love spring. I love the temperature. I like the mercury going up a little bit.
Yes, for sure. I've been waiting. And it's I heard later this week it's going to get cold again. I don't know if it's tomorrow, a couple days later, or something like that.
So I'm wondering if the trees will understand.
No. I don't understand. If I don't, are trees smarter than us?
Or not?
Right.
Yeah. Well, we're here for real relationship matters, not with me and flowers, but...
Actually, kind of. This week's topic kind of came up because of plants.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll jump ahead a little bit, but yeah, my wife bought me a plant, and I started thinking about this topic. Oh. That's how this whole thing came about.
Okay, what's the topic, though?
Okay, all right. It'll take some explanation to get back to that. But so my wife bought me a plant, and I started thinking about our relationship, which is a weird thing to say. So I wanted to kind of like do a little bit of research about us. Oh. And I was a little bit confused when I saw this. So let's see if you understand my confusion. So I was looking for about opposites and attracting and that whole thing, whether opposites attract or don't attract.
Oh.
So, I use my friend, the search engine that everybody knows. And so I found, from The Guardian, which is a pretty well-known UK publication. Monday, September 4th, 2023. Opposites don't attract. Couples more likely to be similar than different, study shows.
Ooh.
The next result from The Independent, which is also a British publication, which was released Friday, September 8th, 2023. 4 days later, says research confirms that opposites do attract, as 1 in 5 couples admit they have nothing in common. What?
Yeah, so they're like going against each other, like, oh, I'm right. No, I'm right.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, all right, so maybe science has no particular answer. Maybe it's just kind of up to us to decide.
Yeah, what do you think?
Well, I think, just based on my own experience, I guess opposites attract. Because me and my wife, we're very opposite.
Oh, so this is really kebake, like case by case, right?
I'm guessing. Yeah. Do you have one that you believe in more?
I think opposites matter in certain aspects, but similarities also matter a lot. Especially, I think, when you're getting married to someone, you're going to be living with that person, right?
Yep.
You're going to be sharing the house together.
Right.
Hopefully in the same bedroom as well. And so sleeping habits, maybe morning habits as well.
Right.
You're going to be eating together. So your diet will also matter as well.
Good point.
So if you have similar tastes, I think it'll work out really well in terms of diet. Because I know, like me, I eat often. And if my future partner is willing to eat often with me, or, mind doing something else while I'm eating, that could work out. But
how often do you eat?
Like every 2 to 3 hours.
For real? So like you don't do like a big set 3 meal. You don't do like breakfast, lunch, dinner, big meals. You kind of break it up throughout the day.
I mean, I do eat the 3 big meals, but in between I have smaller meals. Like I'll have a snack or something, like maybe.
That's how you keep that height up. That's how you're so tall.
Exactly. Otherwise, I'll be shrinking.
Yeah, right. You got to keep that up.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be probably hard for somebody to get used to or adjust to, or they would just have to kind of let you do your own thing and then just agree to meet at the other 3 times.
Yeah, because like I know some of my friends who are married and stuff, and they talk about like even the smallest things that matter. For example, my friend might be a guy who would typically make their bed as soon as he wakes up. But maybe the wife of his don't do it until they basically leave the house, just before leaving the house.
Right.
So those small, tiny little differences might get into fights.
Right.
Because, small things matter, I guess, when you're married, right?
That's basically what both of these studies said, right? So even though the headlines are completely different, both of these studies, and the studies were very different, by the way. The one the Guardian's referring to is like the research goes back to 1903, comparing like how men and women interact, and then the other one from the Independent is like just this last year, I guess they did like surveyed 2,000 people. So they're very different kinds of studies, but there were things that they said. People typically want to be similar in relationships. And just like you mentioned, kind of habits, daily habits, what they eat seems to be important. What kind of holidays they prefer to go on.
Oh.
I think about that because, family holidays is often you might be, at the very least, 3 days together, up to 1 week, 2 weeks together.
Yeah.
If you have very different traveling styles.
Ooh, that too.
I
It was
know.
like, honey, let's not go to your in-laws this time.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants
We
that.
have to.
Right.
I told them that we're coming.
Right.
Oh, no, honey, I'm feeling tired.
Let's go to a country as far away from them as possible.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah. But that's exactly what you mentioned. So the Guardian, the one they talked about, the other thing that they said largely matches across relationships that were in this study, political and religious views. Imagine having different ones of those. But
Yeah.
I know people who. My family, I've got family members who are very different that way, and they're married. Levels of education typically tend to be similar, and I was curious about this one. Some measures of IQ.
Oh.
Do you think it's important? Like, if you're in a relationship, do you want to be about the same quote unquote intelligence level?
I feel like, I guess IQ might matter, but if one person is more, they have a higher EQ, like higher level of understanding.
Yeah.
They could go with whatever, right?
And
they
if
wouldn't be
neither
so
one-
picky about IQ.
If neither one have that, then they're like, "You're dumb." No, you're dumb.
Dumb and Dumber.
Right, Dumb and Dumber. Oh, man, maybe Dumb and Dumber is a good match, actually.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
But it's weird. So both of these studies, although very different, they did find some commonalities that relationships tend to have, that people tend to look for.
Sure.
This made sense too. Like heavy smokers, heavy drinkers, or people who do neither at all tend to partner up the same, with somebody like them.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think I would agree with that as well, because I have a friend, a married couple friend, and they're both heavy drinkers.
Right.
And so they drink a lot together all the time.
Right.
But imagine if one wasn't.
Fights.
Fights
Yes,
be
that
like,
would lead.
stop drinking.
Right.
Do you want consultation?
Right.
Yeah.
You're taking away my fun.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there are things like that. Some weird ones I thought that this is different though, because Korean culture, it is very common to ask, right off the bat, how old you are, right? So they did say it did seem like most couples likely shared the same birth year, or they said similar birth year. So I guess around the same age.
Sure.
I wonder, I know in Korean culture that's kind of normal to find out, but does that matter? If you're going to get married or if you're going to be in a relationship, do you think that's a big deal in Korean culture? You should be the same age?
I feel like it has to do with the personality more than the age itself.
Right.
Like if the person is willing to understand the generational differences and not go too deep into it, like
Right.
Back when I was young, you don't do that kind of thing,
Right. Yeah, don't do that.
You don't scold the other partner for not understanding
Right.
their values or whatever.
We didn't used to have phones. You don't, right?
Yeah.
You don't know. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. As long as that doesn't happen, I think age don't really matter, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that most people would choose to have. Actually, my wife and I were like a month apart
wow.
birth-wise.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was just random. I don't think it was intentional. I wasn't like, hey, what's your birthday? I never really asked that.
If you're a year younger, I can't marry you.
I know, right? It wasn't like that at all, but it just kind of worked out that way. And I was wondering, maybe that's something we kind of sense as humans.
Sure. Okay, so what kind of differences did the articles talk about then?
Yeah, okay. So they did find things that commonly were different between people in relationships. This is interesting for you. Height.
Really?
Yeah.
So should I marry someone a lot shorter than me? Is that the thing?
You know what? They actually did talk about that in the Guardian article. They kind of pointed that out at the end. If people do, if humans, we kind of tend to just be with somebody who's more like us, that could lead to weird things in human development in the future. They said, so for example, coupling along common lines could have future consequences. For example, if taller people pair up with other taller people and shorter people with other shorter people, the coming generations could have more individuals at the extremes of the population's height distribution.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Genetically speaking, it makes total sense. It's just like in the Scandinavian countries, they have Dutch people. They're really tall, right?
Right.
And I guess tall people keep marrying tall people, so they just happen to be super tall people.
Right, and there's a huge difference between the people who are tall and then who are not.
Right.
And if you ever walk around Austria, well, you'll be okay. But I suddenly felt very short in Austria. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I might be considered average there, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
So, I mean, they do say this, if people do continue to kind of pair up that with somebody that's too close to them, that could have repercussions. I mentioned the idea, whether you pair up with somebody who's the same intelligence roughly as you. They said some studies suggest that people increasingly pair up along educational backgrounds, and that's raising concerns of a widening socioeconomic divide.
Wow, so deep now.
Right.
It's going really deep now.
So the partner you choose could affect our future in society.
When you are on this date with this person you love, you start thinking about, so what kind of socioeconomic impact would we have?
Right. No pressure. No pressure.
I don't know. That sounds too deep for me to consider.
Yeah, be a little more selfish than that. But they did, I think what they were trying to point out, though, that is, it is okay if you are with somebody who's not like you. So some other things that they mentioned that typically are different between people in a relationship: medical problems, personality traits. That the famous MBTI test.
Yeah.
According to their study, the Guardian one, which ranges over a long, long period of time, extroverts, for example, were no more likely to partner up with other extroverts than they were introverts. So maybe that MBTI, forget about it.
So opposites attract there.
Opposites apparently attract.
What's your MBTI, by the way?
Oh, man, I get asked this a lot. INFJ or P, I can't remember.
INFJ or P?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Do you know what you are?
It's INT something.
Okay, yeah, I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
The beginning part I got, but the end, but definitely an introvert.
Right.
And my wife is not an introvert at all. Yeah,
she likes going out. She likes checking out things.
I don't know if
likes
she likes
socializing.
Good question. You know what? Maybe not. Maybe she's not.
Maybe you guys are a lot more alike than you think.
That's something they mentioned in the article as well. A lot of couples over time, you might tend to become more like each other.
Yeah. So like opposites attract, and then eventually you become like one another.
You kind of have to start making decisions in a way to like either support each other's differences or maybe kind of change yourself to become more like each other.
Right.
Which sounds scary.
Yeah, I mean, like, with this whole topic in mind, what I thought would work out as couples would be if you have different hobbies.
Yeah.
I think that could work out really well because maybe I don't like reading.
Right.
And my partner loves reading.
Right.
And I'll see that partner reading a different book every day. And it'll eventually pique my interest.
Do you think you might start wanting to read?
Exactly. And if I am a hiker, let's say, and the partner doesn't like hiking.
Yep, that's my wife, 100%.
And then once in a while, I'll be like, hey, let's go hiking together. Okay, once in a while, it might be okay. And then eventually pick up the hiking as a hobby.
She won't.
Okay. So maybe it doesn't
maybe
work.
Your partner might.
Maybe, okay. Yeah, but I think it all depends on the personality.
Totally.
Yeah.
And they did say in one of the one from The Independent, they were mostly focusing on the difference in hobbies because people talked about that the most. The biggest difference seemed to be like hobbies are different. And they said, with opposing tastes in many areas of life, 11% of the people they talked to in the survey said they admitted it was difficult to plan things to do with their partner. So you kind of have to accept that, like, sometimes you can't do things together. You just have to let each other do their own thing.
Yeah.
And then the cool thing is they did say a lot of people in the same survey said if you have these different interests, that can lead to more diverse and enriching conversations in a relationship. Because you got
I agree
different,
with that.
right?
Yeah.
Different things to talk about. Maybe, you not interested in reading so much, but you notice your partner's reading. As a sensitive partner, you could ask about the book.
Yeah, you're like, can you tell me about the book, or not summarize? It sounds
Give
like
me a
homework.
lecture.
But there's more things to talk about. That's the point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you have different experiences because you go out during the day and then you come back at night to be in the home, and
Yeah.
you can talk about many, life experiences you've had outside of the home.
Because I don't know about you, but I have seen some family members who were just very clearly married for a long time. And they should have had some time apart. They were just like together all day long, every day. And it was just like, oh boy. You could tell they just needed a little time away from each other.
Yeah.
It was just quick arguments all the time.
Oh,
It's
no.
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anybody like that in your family, but
We gotta value that personal space as well.
Yeah.
It's really important.
So maybe, perhaps because you are so different from your partner, like, and you do have maybe different interests, it's kind of like naturally you're going to have me time. Both of
exactly.
you.
The me time is very important in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't. They might think the opposite way, especially when they're in a new relationship or when they're looking for somebody to get into a relationship with. They're like, oh, we need to have everything together. We need to be,
no.
same interests. And
That's not
what do we have in
work out
common?
with me, no.
Right. I agree. So this study kind of was like a boost that way. I was like, oh, cool. Because I think sometimes it is a little bit hard with me and my wife. We do have very different interests. I love anything related to music and like playing music and going to concerts. I don't know. Do you know who Patti Smith is? She's kind of a famous New York musician. We had the chance to watch a free Patti Smith concert in New York City, right across from Central Park.
Yeah?
Waited in line, did the whole thing. 2 songs in, my wife's like, gotta go.
Oh,
I was
no.
like, no, don't do this to me.
It's like, honey, wait at the cafe. I'll be there.
I could have done that. I should have done that. But instead I felt like, all right, well, let's leave. And I was so bummed.
Yeah.
So be aware of these differences.
For sure.
And feel free about, sometimes you just need me time.
For sure. Wow. Thank you for a lot of great advice. Relationship Matters segment here with Casey. Thank you for coming in today.
My pleasure. And everybody, give your partner a little leeway. Maybe you're different. That's okay. It's okay to be different.
Yeah, it's okay to be different. Give them a break from time to time. Get yourself some me time as well.
That's right.
All
That's my
right.
message today.
Thank you so much, Casey.
See you next week.
See ya.